So this is going to be a combination video. It is going to be my first impressions of Vanguard, but also my final thoughts. Yes, I don't have a positive outlook for this game. So to get some introductions done, I play these games on PC with a mouse and keyboard. So my experience will not be one-to-one with controller or console players. Please keep this in mind as the experience can be very different. So Sledgehammer was in charge of creating Vanguard. This game is running on the Modern Warfare 2019 engine, which I do feel is the best engine these games could run on at this time. The game is a World War II setting, and let's just get into some details. I do have to mention some bugs that were in the beta, but believe me, most of this video will be discussing a lot of the gameplay decisions that are part of the core experience. So the main two bugs the beta had was that the audio is basically non-existent. Before I could play the game, people were saying they couldn't hear footsteps. I wanted to take that a step further and say I couldn't even hear gunfire. The audio and direction is all over the place and very inconsistent. Say what you want about Modern Warfare 2019 and how imbalanced the audio is for that. I'd rather have a game that's super loud and one that I can tune down, than one that I have to set the max volume on for my PC, on the game, and even on the volume knob on my headphones. For reference, I never once adjusted the audio on my headphones for any game, and this game made me do that. Sledgehammer has addressed this and said it will be fixed at launch, which is too late for me. So I do recommend to hold off on buying this game if this alone is a deal breaker for you. The next bug to mention is the sun. I don't know why the developers have so much issues with creating the sun, but when you look anywhere near its direction, it's like it's 10 feet away from you. I don't understand why someone's not able to go to the skybox, grab the sun, shrink it down to size, and then move it back a little bit. It's not a major issue in the sense where it will take months to fix, and in my opinion should never have gone past quality assurance. That is, if they even had one for this game. Alright, I rambled enough about the bugs, let's talk about the game itself. Well, as a PC player, I do have to adjust the field of view. I generally adjust this to 110 and not the full 120. For me, anything above 110 in any game gives me that awkward fisheye effect. However, the FOV isn't adjusted the same way as Modern Warfare 2019. That game felt a lot more natural adjusting this. I could technically even play Modern Warfare at 120 FOV, but it still wouldn't be as comfortable as my 110 setting. Vanguard's FOV adjustment feels again more like what Cold War did, where it kind of just zoomed out. It's not an easy thing to describe, but the method Infinity Ward had to adjust the FOV felt a lot better than this. Again, something about the scaling of the maps or something that didn't sit right with me. As I mentioned before, I had the same issue with Cold War. In fact, overall, this game feels a lot more like Cold War than the Modern Warfare game. As a PC keyboard mouse player, I can kind of feel that difference a little more. The game feels very floaty and lightweight in comparison, and lifeless to some extent. Now in regards to the weapons, remember how you're able to pick 5 attachments to create your gun? Well, Sledgehammer said that wasn't enough, and now you can include 10 attachments. I don't even know how you do that, but they did. It does seem like most of these attachments are smaller changes, so it's not like you'll start getting negative recoil, but it's pretty close. All in all, it's too many to actually balance the game. Not that Call of Duty developers care, but it's just too much. I don't want to sit here and read what each and every attachment does. I'm playing a shooter game, not creating a character in an MMORPG. However, there are going to be some attachments that are going to be game-breaking and an outright deal-breaker for me. Primarily, that would be the bullet attachments, where you can select from a list of rounds your weapon can fire. This could be something like a full metal jacket rounds, which would deal more damage to the walls, or it could be frangible rounds. Now, frangible rounds were used in the Modern Warfare game as well. However, that was a perk out of 5 attachments, so the chances of you running into someone using that perk was a lot less consistent. In this game, it's something that you can tack on without any downside, and it also increases flinch. So with the controller you have aim assist, and even though your aim does get affected by flinch, you can still stay on target. With the mouse and keyboard, you have to aim every single shot. So if you mess up once, you're going to mess up 3 shots, not just 1 or 2. Add on to this increased flinch, it feels like the gun is going to fly out on my hands. I may as well just stop shooting and die at this point. Getting bullet flinch is how most mouse players will lose a fight. Again, having to aim every single shot, compensate for recoil, and out of nowhere, added recoil because of this flinch, it makes the game feel impossible. And since not everyone is running this, you'll never know when to anticipate and counter that flinch. It is a nightmare and one that I'd rather not be a part of. Along with this, a lot of weapons also have explosive fire rounds. Why? Just why? Didn't Sledgehammer see what happened with the R9 shotgun? Why is this a thing? It literally looks like I'm getting shot with fireworks. What am I supposed to do with that? They couldn't have tested this, got shot in the face and said, yeah, it's fine, this won't cause any seizures or rage at all. Having a fire explosive round is fine, but it's a bullet, not a mortar. It should be like pop rocks getting shot at you, not C4. I don't even know if it kills faster, I just find it to be very annoying whenever I get shot by one. These 2 bullet attachments alone are a deal breaker for me. I'm not going to pick up the game and hope 6 months later they fix it, and then hope whatever they did fix it with is going to be the solution that I like. For me, unless they deleted it from the game entirely, I'm not going to pick up this game at all. Once again, something about the gunplay doesn't feel right. Whenever I get into a gunfight, I usually die within 3 shots while I'm 5 or 6 shots in. I've changed setups, used different guns, but I get the same results. I get into a gunfight, shoot first, die first. I have to literally be 3 shots in to have a chance to get the kill. It just doesn't feel rewarding, and I do feel cheated most of the time. Not in the sense that the guy's hacking, but more in the sense that I got to jump on the guy, got my shots in, but I somehow die first. I know you probably heard that before plenty of times and say just get good, but I'll counter that with this clip. Moving on, map visibility is a big problem in this game. Most times I don't see who shot me. The color palettes they went with is brown, white, and green. I know it's World War II and these were the colors. But if you're not going to be accurate with weapon attachments, especially during that time, you don't need to have the exact shade of puke green or dark-turd brown either. You can liven it up a little bit and give it more of its own feel. I'm kind of tired of the developers making promises for World War era games, saying they are historically accurate. Usually that means they took pictures of the uniforms and some locations and dropped them in. Never mind anything else. At this point you can just drop the phrase historically accurate, it's not a selling point, much less for a Call of Duty game. You're not fooling anyone. Also, to those who continue to talk about color accuracy, Battlefield 5 is a World War II game and that has a lot more color in one patch of dirt than this game has in an entire map. Speaking of maps, oh boy. We're getting back at it again, boys. We got ourselves the usual 3-lane meat grinder maps. Before we dissect them though, let's just state a problem that every single one of these maps have. That is, almost any wall can be shot through. If it looks like it's made out of wood, you can shoot through it. One clever design, by the way, in Modern Warfare 2019, is that yeah, some areas look like they're wood or thin metal, but they're actually reinforced on the other side. So if you ever wondered why you couldn't shoot through certain sections, well, that was why. In Vanguard though, there's none of that. If it looks like wood, you can shoot through it. That also includes the wooden pillars in the Hotel Royale map. On the positive side, I do like the idea of destructible walls and hatches and other gimmicks like that. You know, finding a way to expand the map a little more than what it would be. I'm not sure if other COD games will try to do this as well later on, but hopefully they do expand on this to make the maps more interesting, so long as they don't break the outright game. Alright, now let's get into some map design. So we do have other maps like Red Star and Gavudu, which aren't really 3-lane maps, but they have a lot of issues on their own. Red Star is a map that seems interesting, that looks like it could work, but it does not. The spawn locations are horrible, the spawn flips are non-existent, and it is an overall pain to get anywhere in that map. I may even say it's worse than Piccadilly from Modern Warfare 2019. I'm not entirely sure about it, but it is a solid contender for one of the worst maps I've ever played. Gavudu on the other hand actually seems good at first, but it's very basic. So instead of 3 lanes, it's actually 2. You have the left lane, and then you have the lane that takes you to the ship. You know, the big ship, 2 floors moving in and out, it would be where most of the action would take place. But that's not always the case. Yes, you can have players doing that, but the gunfights are more mid to long range, and the map doesn't really have a flow to it. If you control the ship, you do control the map, so in that sense the ship is still the centerpiece, just that the map itself isn't built around it. It's more that the ship is on one side near mid, and people happen to be there. Unless it's an objective point like in Domination, you don't always get gunfights in the ship itself. It's usually from the ship to the enemy spawn point, and then vice versa. Okay, so let's talk quickly about the 3-lane maps that were in the beta, that being the Hotel Royale map and Eagle's Nest. Both of them have very similar layout. Eagle's Nest is more of a linear and nearly any wall or object can be shot through. It is a 1-floor map, meaning there's no upstairs or downstairs. You're either in the building or you are in the lanes to the side. No sniper perches, no overlooks, it is as flat as you can get. Since the map is very small and flat, the fights are more about just trying to hold your ground or flip the spawn. It is very uneventful. With Hotel Royale, that actually has some promise. So yes, your interior is your standard 3-lane map, plus the outside terrace lane. But there's also a rooftop you can walk onto, and a few skylights you can look down and shoot people from, as well as drop in and create chaos. This is probably the best part of the map. Just circumvent every stagnant gunfight from the 3 lanes, go to the roof, and drop in on the enemy. However, if you do decide not to do that, it's just more of over-the-counter head-glitching gunfights, and I don't find those to be fun. I know the game is set to have like 20 plus maps, but I can kind of see why now. If the complexity of these maps are going to be this straightforward, I don't think there would be a map that I would personally like. In regards to the map aesthetics, sure, they look okay. Hotel Royale gives us a little more color than the other maps, and Gavudu is the closest thing we've had for a jungle-themed map. Regardless, even with everything else, it is just more of the same, and it's not interesting to me gameplay-wise. With all this said, these are my impressions of the game, and sadly the final thoughts as well. Until they have another free weekend to test out how far Sledgehammer has come, I don't plan to play the game again. Gun to my head, if I was given the choice to play Vanguard or Cold War for 1 year, I would pick Cold War every single time, no questions asked. Yes, I have plenty of issues with Cold War itself, but those issues don't greatly affect the game's gunplay like Vanguard does. If the rumors are true, Infinity Ward will be making next year's title. And if IW do keep the same kind of feel that Modern Warfare 2019 had, I'll be more than gladly to pick that up. Well, that is if they don't have a 10-weapon attachment system that includes bullets that make you go blind. And let me know what you guys think about Vanguard. Do you agree or disagree? In any case, I am Mr. Rain, and thank you for watching.